What's up, guys? Welcome back to the channel. I have a review for you today, and it's something that I am super excited about, something that I've wanted for a really long time. So today we're talking about the BougeRV 12-volt refrigerator. So these guys reached out to me a little while ago, and they were willing to send me one of these to review and test it. So I really appreciate them doing that. And I appreciate it because I've wanted a fridge for so long. I just have hesitated for a really long time and never pulled the trigger on one. So to get this opportunity is something that's really cool for me because I've wanted one for a long time. This is their newest one, their newest release, and it's their Rocky series. So it's even more than before tailored for those that are campers, full-time overlanders, travelers, 4x4s, all that kind of stuff, because it's built tougher than some of their other ones. So this kind of has a stainless steel coating, and it's just a really, really tough and durable fridge for these types of adventures. So first thing first, let's just get right into the features of this thing, and I'll show you around the fridge, show you everything that I've learned about it so far and things that I've experienced with it, and we'll start from there. So this new Rocky series they're doing, they have 4 different sizes available for it. This one's the 40-liter one, which is their smallest one. And then they have, I had to look this up, but they have a 52-liter, a 65-liter, and a 78-liter. So some of those are freaking huge if you really had to carry that much stuff. The reason that I picked their smallest one, the 40-liter, is because most of the time we're doing overnight camping trips. So we love a few times a year, we will do a more overland style trip where we travel across a couple different states maybe, and we're doing some off-grid stuff. We're doing multiple days at a time. And at that point, a 40-liter for the 3 of us, it's me, my wife, and my son, a 40-liter might be stretching it on the small end, but again, it's just kind of personal preference. But because we don't do those trips as much, I decided to go with the small one that would fit our needs best for what we mostly do. And what we mostly do is we overnight camp. When we overnight camp, we usually we leave on a Friday night, we come back Saturday at some point. So it's usually just one night of sleeping, so which means pretty much just a dinner and a breakfast, if that. And so we just didn't need tons of space, and I didn't want a very large refrigerator taking up tons of space when we don't need that much capacity most of the time. The other reason I chose the 40-liter is because I actually have some height restrictions in my build personally. So I run a tonneau cover and then some low set crossbars with the tent on top of it. So I only have so much height here in the bed. And so the 40-liter just gives a little bit of extra space here to where it can still open just fine, and you can still have access to it. And then some of their other ones are just way taller, and so you'd have to have a little more space to fit those. Whereas I feel like most people have more height than I do, but because I chose to do a weather-tight seal, doing a tonneau cover, I'm a little bit restricted on height. So let's start here on the outside of it. On either side, you have these grab handles, and they're actually kind of have like a spring mechanism in them, so they'll actually come up when you want to use the handles, and then they spring back down out of the way. They also are your tie down point for if you're tying it down into a fridge slide, or if you're just tying it down into anything. Your straps here that it comes with just come and attach to that handle and then secure it to whatever you want to hold the fridge down. I do really like the way this one looks. It's not plastic everywhere. This is a metal and plastic kind of combination. Plastic is really good and tough where it needs to be, but then the majority of the fridge is metal, which is pretty sweet. I really like the idea of that, and I like how it looks as well. You've got some cup holders here on the top, so 3 different cup holders there if you wanted to use those. Otherwise, the outside is pretty standard, really good construction. Up here in the front is where you have your plugs. So that's your main power source plug that runs to a 12-volt connection. It comes with both. So this one runs into a 12-volt connection that I've got plugged into my power station, but then it comes with 110 power as well. So same plug on this end, and then it runs to a 110 outlet if you were powering it that way as well. Your next connection down here is your solar connection. So right there, you could run solar directly off of the fridge. So even if you didn't have a power station, you have a solar port right there, and they sell solar panels that you can buy right from them. And then right above that solar port, you actually have a battery compartment. So right here, you can buy a separate battery from them that plugs in here and gives you, it's going to depend on your usage and what you have in there and stuff, but around 12 hours worth of life out of the fridge, just out of the battery that you can plug into here without having a power station at all. So that's kind of a cool feature. Like right now I happen to run it off of my EcoFlow 500 watt power station, but because it has a solar input and that extra battery slot, you technically don't need a power station as long as that power meets your needs, because you can use the battery, you could buy multiple of them and plug them in there, and then because you have solar input right on the fridge, you can actually power off of the sun technically indefinitely if you had to. The compressor on this thing is super quiet. It seems to me to be really efficient, and like anytime it comes on, you can barely even really hear it. So super quiet, which is nice. Luckily, we keep this in the back of the truck, whereas some people will put these in the back of an SUV. If it was a loud fridge, I could see that being an issue, but it's been pretty quiet for us. And I guess we do sleep in a tent right above it all night. So if it was kicking on and if it was really loud, it would be kind of annoying. So I am kind of grateful that it's pretty quiet. And then because it's so efficient, it doesn't just run all the time. So if the fridge is at temperature, it can automatically turn itself on and off in order to stay at that regulated temperature, which is good for your power needs because it's not just pulling power from a power station or from the integrated battery all the time, because once it's at temp, it can kind of just stay there and hold it for a while and then kick back on when it needs to. The lid on this fridge is really cool, and it has a really cool design. So in a 40 liter, it actually opens from the side. So you can open it from the side right here, and then the way this lid works is you can actually pull the entire lid off if you want for loading it, or you can actually switch it around so that it opens from the right side. So right now, I have it opening from this side, but in a matter of seconds, I can pull that lid off and switch it around and it can open from the right side. Okay, so once we open it up, you got a really cool system here. So this is a really unique to this fridge, is that it's actually a dual zone refrigerator slash freezer in this small of a fridge in a 40 liter, which is crazy. I've never seen that very mainstream yet. Most of your dual zones, your capacities are much larger before you have that dual zone capability. So that was like the biggest selling point, if that's what you want to call it, for this fridge so far, is I really like that you have dual zone capabilities so that you can run one side as a freezer and one as a fridge. That's just a really nice convenience when you want to keep like meats or vegetables frozen, or literally anything like ice cream, that kind of thing. It'd be nice to have a section that can actually do that. So here on the inside, like I mentioned, you got your two zones here. But you can actually remove it. So this divider actually pulls out right here, and then you can turn it into a single zone, and then on either side you have these two baskets. So these baskets can come in and out, and that's how you could choose to do a dual zone or a single zone. And then it's also got a drain plug here in the bottom. So if stuff spilled or you ended up with some water in there or anything, you got a drain plug out the bottom that's kind of convenient. So I've already kind of explained what our normal trip looks like. It's more of like an overnight trip, and this is like plenty of space for that. So already having dual zone is just a super big convenience, and then in here you just have tons of space for drinks and plenty of food, and I feel like it's going to be kind of a good happy medium to where it's not too big to where it's still convenient to have on these overnight trips, and you can easily fit as many drinks as you want and food for dinner and breakfast and all sorts of stuff. But then on our overland trips, I feel like we're still going to be able to stuff quite a bit of stuff in there. And then the trips we do, we're rarely off grid for more than like 2 days at a time before we then like hit a town or something. So it's pretty easy for us to be able to refuel back up on stuff, fuel literally for the truck, and then food at grocery stores and stuff. So this should be plenty of capacity for what we do. And I'm glad, because I wanted something that could kind of do both, where we could do these overnighters and we could still do more lengthy trips that are days at a time and still have enough capacity to fit food and drink in there. So let's get into how you run this thing. The display on it is super nice. It's really simple. There's only a few buttons. You do have some USB-A ports down here. You have 2 of them. So if you wanted to charge devices or like anything that relating to USB, you have 2 ports there that are kind of convenient. And then the display is super simple, so let's go over it and I'll show you how to work it. So I apologize if there's a little bit of a glare on this. It's actually easy to read in person. It just, with the sun and then the camera, adds a little bit of a glare that you don't really see in real life, but you should be able to see that okay still. So you've got different controls here for your different zones. So this is your left zone and your right zone. And so your left zone, I guess I better pull the fridge out all the way, but your left zone is over here and then your right zone is here in the front. And so when you have that divider in here, then it acts as a dual zone fridge where you control both temperatures separately. And then if you pull that divider out, it automatically switches to a single zone, so you just adjust the temperature one time. So I'm still playing around with what temperature is best, but right now I have both of them on set to a fridge mode, and I have them both set around 35. That's why you can see that one's at 34 and 35, and it stays at temperature pretty well. So adjusting stuff on this is super easy. I'll show you how to do it on the app in a minute, but if you're doing it right from the screen here, all you have to do is either tap the plus or the minus button here. So if I tap the plus button, it starts to beep right there. You see they're actually set at 32. And then from there, you can adjust this. So if I go up here, you can see that that's changing the temperature there, up and down, like that. And then if you hit the settings button right here, that's what moves it to this right zone. So then I'm on the right zone now, and I can adjust that up or down just like that. So yeah, super simple. You literally just tap one of these buttons in order to start it, and then you have your adjustments there. So now they're both at 32. It'll blink for a second, and then it will jump right back to the temperatures that they're at right now. And it's going to fluctuate a little bit. It's not going to hold it perfectly at 1 degree specifically, and that's okay. As long as it's within a few degrees, I felt like it's been okay. And then if you're not adjusting the temperature, if you just hit your gear icon here, your settings icon, it actually changes it from eco to max mode. So as you can expect, eco is going to be a more efficient version of it, and so that's going to run it as efficiently as possible. It still keeps it at temperature, and it will always keep it at temperature just fine, but it's going to be a little more eco-friendly. And then on max mode here, that might be helpful, like if it's been a really hot day and you haven't turned on your fridge yet and you're about to leave for a trip, you turn it on max and it's going to use more power, but it's going to get this thing down to temperature faster. But I've kind of found out that whether it's on eco or max, it really doesn't pull a whole lot of watts, even when it's getting up to temperature. So I took some videos that I'll put up on the screen here, but when I had it in eco mode, my power station was only pulling about 40 watts of power when I had it in that eco mode. And then when I switched it over to max, it only pulled about 60 watts of power. So even that isn't a whole lot of power draw, especially since once it's up to temp, it turns itself on and off. And then your last button here is just your power button. So you just tap that and it will turn the whole fridge on or off. And then a few other indicators here. You'll see that it's showing that the battery's full, but that's because it's plugged into an EcoFlow. That would be your battery indicator if you had it plugged into the battery source here. Then it would show you the battery level. It shows that I'm on Fahrenheit, that it's connected to Bluetooth, which means it's connected to the app, and then the current volts, as well as it has some different power settings that are different than the Eco and Max. It has some power settings relating to the safety of how much power it's pulling for what you're pulling it from. So whether it's a car battery or a power station, it changes the level of safety that this thing is giving it. So right now I have it set on medium because that's what they recommended on a power station. If you run it off of a car battery, then you could run it on high, but either way, neither of those are that big of a deal. It's just for the safety and protection of the batteries that you're running. So I'll show you around the app that comes with it a little bit. So I'll pop it up here on the screen. And what you have here, right, the first thing in the app is I've got the fridge connected right now. So over here on the far left, that's where you can add some different fridges, some general settings right here that we don't really need to go through, but you can name it and set max and minimum temperatures, switch it from Fahrenheit to Celsius, which is pretty cool. But this is your main screen right here. So you have a power button to turn it on and off. And then right here you can see you have a left and right zone control. So again, if you were running it as a single zone, this would only be one, but I can switch between left and right, and it'll tell you what they're set at. So because I have both of them set at 32, that number is not changing up here, and it's showing you the current temperature of each. Left is at 35 and the right's at 35, but that's where you would switch and change these out. So if I wanted to switch this right one here to be a freezer, I can use this temperature control down here. I can just slide it down to whatever temperature I want, and now you can see my right one is at 35 degrees right now, but it's going to work its way down to the set 7, and then the left one is still set to 32 here. So I'm going to change that back so I don't explode all of my drinks in there, but super easy to work it from there. And then here at the bottom of the screen, this is where you can change whether or not it's in eco mode or not. So right there I now have it in eco mode. You can actually lock the controls, which is pretty nice so that they don't get bumped. Fahrenheit and Celsius, and then right here is your battery control, like your safety for your batteries, low, medium, and high. I have mine set on medium. So a very, very simple app to use. One thing that I've really liked about the app is that while I'm driving, I can pull this up and I can make sure that things are at temperature. So when we're on the road, like on our way up to this camping trip that we're on right now, I was able to just pull up the app on my phone, just make sure everything was at temperature. And then I also have an EcoFlow app for my power station. And so I was able to use those apps side by side and see that see what percentage it was at, see that it was charging off of the 12-volt system that I installed here, and that the fridge was at temperature and running. So pretty cool technology that we have, that right as I'm driving, I can make sure that all of that stuff is set where it needs to be. So you can obviously configure these however you want. You can set it up in a vehicle however you want, but let me show you how I have it set up here, just for anyone that kind of wanted to see that. So for me, I chose to do the all-top fridge slide. I got it right on Amazon, and that just makes it super slick for sliding that in and out, and then it keeps it secure too. So it was still pretty easy. If you don't do a fridge slide, it was still easy to kind of slide in and out of here, especially with these really cool handles. It was pretty slick. But one thing I like about the fridge slide is that when it is in there, it's secured. So the slides lock in, the straps are securing it down, and so that thing's not moving anywhere, which is kind of nice. And then I kind of switched up what I was doing for power. So I've used this EcoFlow for a little while now. This is the River 2 Max, so it's a 500 watt power station. And I used to just carry it super portable, and I would used to just bring it up into the tent, because the only things that we were really running is sometimes a diesel heater and devices. So I was just putting it up there. But now that I have the fridge down here permanently, I kind of wanted a more permanent power solution as well. So that's why I mounted this down here. And then it can just very easily, this is the cord from the fridge, just to show you, plugs right into the 12 volt right there. Normally it would just plug right into that section of the EcoFlow, but I have it on a splitter so that I can run power up to the tent as well. I'm going to do another video on the whole new 12 volt system that I've got, so we'll keep this pretty simple for today. And then I decided that I wanted the EcoFlow to be able to charge while I was driving. So I wired up a 12 volt plug back here, and I'll go over that more in the next video. But that way my EcoFlow is just plugged in all the time, and it's only charges when the ignition is running. So when the truck is running, that automatically starts charging, and then when it's off, the EcoFlow is now powering the fridge. So for me, that's a super slick system, and I've really liked it so far. I love having it on sliders, and I really love the size of this. It works perfect for our trips, and it works perfect for our vehicle. So I've really liked it so far. Oh, one quick thing I forgot to mention, you got a little light right there. The daytime, that obviously doesn't matter as much, but last night when it was pitch black, that automatic light was super slick when you open it up, be able to see in here and be able to see all your food and drinks. So if you couldn't tell already, I'm super stoked to finally have a 12 volt fridge and freezer, just to have things be a little bit slicker. I hated having to deal with ice, having to go to the gas station, and then everything gets sopping wet and gross, and so really pumped to finally have this system in here. If you happen to go look at these on their website, for one, I'll provide a link in the description. So use that link if you want to go check these out. If you want to possibly order one, use that link in the description. And this 40 liter one retails for $550. And then if you choose to do it with the battery, that's $750, and then you can always order the battery separately if you didn't want to do the battery right away. I have a power station, so I didn't choose to do that battery yet, but I could see that being a really slick option if you don't have a power station, or even if you do, kind of as some backup power. So yeah, if you want to check it out, just use that link in the description to go look at this thing on their website and order one if it's something that you've been looking to do for a while, like I was. And then there's also a discount code down there for you guys for my channel. So if you use that discount code, it'll get you a little bit of savings on this thing, which is kind of nice. So I'm gonna keep torture testing this thing over time, and I'll continue to use it on all of my trips, and I'll just like all my gear, I'll keep updating you on what I think about it in the long term. I have been using this for a few weeks already, and I've loved it a lot. So it's been super sweet. I appreciate you guys watching the video today. We'll catch you next time.